Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host for Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies, also known as PWD Allies Podcast, available on Spotify or your favorite app. Today, I am just so pleased to have on Tarra Carlson. Tarra Carlson is actually in Alberta, and she's actually going to be talking about invisible disabilities and the autism spectrum and so much more regarding disabilities. Such a great pleasure, Tara, to have you on my podcast. Hello, how are you?
Not too bad.
We should say
Um,
too that that you are a friend of a good friend of ours as well.
yeah, and
Yeah,
she found a
yeah.
home, by the way. Yay!
Yeah, and she found a home. Yeah, so Cassandra,
Cassandra, yes,
Cassandra
yeah,
is no longer homeless, and we're really happy about
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So happy that she found a home. Yeah, and we'll dive into a little bit of that too, definitely. So Tara, how is the how is the Alberta? Well, sort of. How is the Alberta weather going first? Well, because I'm weatherman, so
Well, it's cloudy. I live in a nice warm condo, which I don't own, but for most of Alberta, I think this is the cheapest goddamn condo there is. I'm paying only
Mhm.
$950. So
Well,
really,
that's good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really good.
I
yeah.
should say my husband's paying $950.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how did you get into disability advocacy? When I
Oh.
that it's like a way, I guess we can start from wherever point of time in life where whichever bit suits your your perspective of things.
Well, you know how a lot of parents in their younger years, especially those of us that are old fucking dinosaurs like us,
Yeah.
Hmm.
like 40 and up,
Or,
we come from the era of psych wards and let's put them away, hide them, but don't bring them out to show anybody because family embarrassment, that sort of thing, right?
Mhm.
Well, I was born on the tail end of that shit.
Yeah.
And in my time, I was born and raised in BC. I was born in Victoria, BC, 1974.
Okay.
And raised in Port Hardy for most of my life, Port Hardy, Port McNeill, Sointula, that area. So
Mm.
not only did I see the Alert Bay residential school closed down, but I saw a lot of firsts for Canada in that time frame because I grew up in the
Oh.
80s. They were still putting people away into asylums after the doctors figured you would never graduate grade school, right?
Right.
So I
Hmm.
was one of those kids. The R word was blanketed. The doctor told your mom that she would never amount to anything, apron strings holder, never leave home, never have a job, never go to school, never get married. What the hell? I've
Yeah.
been married 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the same things
Um,
that I was told, or that my mom was told by doctors too, that
Yeah.
yeah.
your
So,
son's never going to amount to anything. Same thing.
Yeah, I
yeah.
was told
Uh,
the same thing way back then too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Brent's not going to
yeah.
succeed in anything
Yeah.
important in life. Really?
Hmm.
Anyway, when I was about 7 years old, my mom, she was a young mom. Like she had me like when she was barely 16, 17. Okay. She was one of those. I thank my mom for not aborting me because I made as much as I made a life a living hell growing up. You know what? Some of that living hell was the best hell of my life.
Hmm.
I watched my mom advocate for me and get me sort of what BC offered back in the day, which is segregation in Cole Harbor, disability school. And let's just say I was Albert Einstein to the town idiots, if you can
Ah.
catch the drift here.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
So I knew my ABCs. My mom did everything to make sure that I could talk, walk, tie my shoes, do all the things that normal kids do with a few slight variances, right? Because there's going to be things that I will never be able to do for the rest of my fucking life because I have a social communication disability for which there are going to be many things that I can't do, like read body language or tone of voice, which
Hmm.
means
Hmm.
being able to develop social cues, which is alien.
Hmm.
So this is my biggest problem. I've always had that. And I've read statistics when I was later on diagnosed with autism. Back then it was NOS, not otherwise specified. we know your little girl is going to grow out of this because she's just a hyper little tomboy that um, is just an emotional little wreck. Well, that emotional little wreck is still a fucking tomboy. Okay? Like the statistics on women and autism and ADHD, I have seen that about 80% of all women, and I fit this category, are tomboys. Okay, either that or they're butch. And excuse me for those that are insulted by the words that I use, but you know what? I grew up in the 80s. If you don't like my language, turn it off.
I always say on the show, I always say, just wing it, be yourself, because I'm not here to judge anyone. All right, so yeah. So we've got the little swear jar there.
We're used to the swearing already from Dan. So we have the swear jar right here.
Yeah. So it's all good.
I just wanted to say we have Cassandra in chat.
Oh,
so this is exciting. So you have your emotional support in chat there, Tarra, which is nice. Before we launched the show, I was telling you that I titled the episode "Invisible Disabilities," and then you kind of disagreed with that statement, Tarra, and I just want you to explain why some people call ADHD and autism invisible and some people don't. They balk at it. So if you could dive into that. If you can explain the difference or why people disagree with that statement.
It depends on the day. Like if I have my social anxiety going off the hill, and I'm also going through menopause. So if you got to know me over time, it would be visible for those that would understand me. They would actually see the ADHD and autism. If I was alone, you don't know me from an atom. Do I look it? No. But my body language is over exaggerated because of 49 years of being told you have to do things this way, watch people this way so you can be socially accepted. Stop being autistic. You have to act normal because, well, that's the only way to be, right?
Yeah.
I didn't go through ABA, but at the same time, my whole entire life, you might as well just throw me in a vat of ABA because how I developed social anxiety disorders because neurotypical is telling me how to act, how to be, how to dress, how to blah. Right?
Yeah.
You understand where I'm going with this shit show.
Yeah.
My whole life was like that. So I had to pander to neurotypical insecurities because the stupid little neurotypical couldn't actually address his own damn feelings and actually put his damn feelings onto me. The poor little R word that couldn't associate or discern what socialization properly is. Well, you know what?
Who should really be on the couch, right? Who should really be on the couch? Yeah.
And that's why again, you see, I mentioned these pink unicorns, right? They tend to very often because the governments always say that it should be all equal, right? Equality. No.
There's no such thing as equal, especially if you're a woman and autistic.
Exactly. Yeah,
if you're over the age of 30, there is nothing these days. Nothing. Zero. Nada. In Alberta, you have PDD funding. You have to be below a 70 IQ in order to get it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Actually, on what is it? Tomorrow's Wednesday, but Thursday we actually have somebody else coming on talking about autism, but it's autism in children. So it's actually kind of good that we're having a back-to-back. So we have you talking about autism in adults, and then on Thursday we have somebody talking about autism in children. And unfortunately, the autism in adults gets overlooked a lot, right?
Really absolutely, because me,
it gets brushed away,
visible. So depending on the stress, the environment, what I've done, who I'm seeing depends on whether it's going to be visible or not. There are days where I've had, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the spoon theory, but a lot of autistics and ADHDers, neurodivergent people use this spoon theory where you have only X amount of spoons in one day.
Yeah, I've heard that many times. That it's so important that people need to kind of look at that because it's like you've only got there's so much energy. There's only so much heads time that you have that you can focus on that much, and that's what the spoon theory, right, is. I mean, maybe you could explain maybe a little bit more. Maybe I've got that wrong, If I do, please correct me. But it's the amount of I guess I don't know. Like I don't go through it, but that's why I like to learn about
Is
the
it the
word
amount of
spoons.
stimulus? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Amount of
it,
stimulus?
it's like I guess
Let me give
space
you
or
an example here. You see this bottle?
yeah.
Mhm.
Imagine it full. It's full
Okay.
of liquid, right?
Right.
Mhm.
How many times in a day can you sip out of this before it runs empty? You can liken that to the spoon theory. Exactly like that.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Depending
Yeah.
on the environment,
Okay. So
how
I did get
thirsty
the
you
I
are
did
to
get
live
the theory
through
done right. Okay. Yay. Okay. I didn't mess that up. No, because I like to learn from that from when people explain these things, and that's how advocacy it is. I mean, we network with each other and we learn from each other, and understanding that like pink unicorns aren't real. They are not real, right?
Mhm.
But the
no,
governments
but
around
stupid
the
people are.
country think they are real because they like to bridge disabled people against disabled people. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and maybe we could dive into that.
Yeah,
So
just a
when you
second. I just wanted to break in because Cassandra actually made a good comment. She says it's only visible when overstimulated or in meltdown mode, and even
Yep.
then, it's only visible if you recognize it.
right,
It's
Yep.
recognize its neurodiversity. She says, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and only the people
Basically, if
people
you
that
see a
live
kid
it. They,
temper tantrum, if you see a kid having a tantrum, is a kid able to express their feelings at younger age because
oh,
feeling.
Unfortunately, Tarra, your audio is breaking up a bit. I wonder if is it possible that you might be able to go to a different just slide over in a different part of your room, maybe. I'm just wondering if you got
or maybe it was just
a dead spot in your room because you just broke up audio there. It was quite bad actually. I don't know if that's just
Oh,
a temporary thing, but
all right.
we'll just try to bear with it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
The wonders of technology again.
Is that
yeah,
better?
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, it's good now. So we'll just
Yeah.
kind of keep an
yeah.
eye on it. Yeah.
We usually
Or
just try to wing these things and just kind of go with it.
yeah. Yeah.
So, what was I saying? It
Oh,
has to do with, as Cassandra said, it has to do with, I was talking about kids having temper tantrums and
yeah, right,
Mhm.
not being able to address their feelings because of lack of experience, especially in the younger generations. The older you get, the more experience you get, and the more ability you have to recognize feelings or emotions for which may indicate or set off certain aspects of that autism or anxiety disorder or whatever's comorbid with it. I have autism and ADHD plus social anxiety disorder,
yeah,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So when you learn to recognize certain aspects,
hmm
the more you're able to deal with them and say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to pretend I'm not home today because I am so antisocial. If I deal with Joe Jane jackass over there, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
yeah,
But
and it's so important to understand. Basically, for everyone watching this, is to understand what people with autism spectrum or ADHD, what people go through. I mean, it's there's only so much spoons, right? You have, and in one
yeah.
day, like she said, and so when you get to a point where those spoons are now limited, and
Yeah.
now you're down to one or two spoons, now it's like okay, like don't go there, like
I'll
it's
go
like
there. I'm going to explode.
yep,
Bye bye.
yep, exactly. It's
It's like
like
you're
Yeah.
going to get hot.
And the other thing that I think is important too, and again, I'm not autistic, so I mean you can correct me, but the way I've heard it explained as well is they say that if you try to measure autism and say this person is only a little bit autistic versus a lot
Oh,
autistic,
yeah,
that is wrong to say
oh,
too.
yeah,
oh,
That is wrong to
no.
say as well because
That is
there is
wrong.
no a lot and a little.
that's exactly
Either you're
Yeah,
when
all or nothing.
it's yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's like it's like for me, my condition, it's like saying, oh well, you're on this part of the scale versus somebody who has the same condition as you, and they're way down here. It's like, well, you know what? It is the same condition, so why grade people based on saying that's like pinning your disability against the same person who has a disability. It's like pinning it against each other. It's like
or it's like saying, Neil, you're not that disabled, so you only deserve half of a wheelchair. Which is what the ministry did.
Here's one that I've come across. Funny, you don't look autistic, or we all must have a little autism or ADHD. What?
Yeah.
This is a neurotypical fucking saying that. Like, seriously, you don't say that to an autistic or a neurodivergent person, period, because that's downgrading their feelings and their autonomy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and as totally. Far as I'm concerned, the ableist goddamn bullshit that comes out of a neurotypical's mouth is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. You had mentioned earlier that before we launched, we were diving into about the Alberta government in the 1990s. So maybe we could dive into that.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yes, because Sandra knows my story on this shit.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people find this interesting. Tune into this one. Well, carefully on this one. Oh yeah, this would be great.
Oh well, many years ago, I came from BC because BC had SFA. We all know the acronym to SFA, do we not? Sweet oh.
Yeah, right. You go for it. Go for it. It's all good. We just wing things here.
Okay, well, BC had sweet fuck all. Okay, literally.
Yeah. There we go.
I came to Alberta. I was barely 23. I was not diagnosed, but I knew Alberta was advanced for its time in that era. But unfortunately, what they had was because of the asylums getting closed. There was my first. I saw the last one closed down in Alberta in the 90s when I moved here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Basically, they started taking people from those asylums and putting them into group homes, or if they're I hate using these terms, higher functioning, for lack of better words. If there's neurotypicals watching, it's for you that I use those words, not for the disabled people of Alberta. Basically, people that have a little bit more ability than, say, Joe Schmuck in a group home, that are able to work or might have the ability to live on their own, this sort of thing. And these programs that they had were geared towards the person's need. In other words, if you had autism, you had a disability skills coach, versus what you have today, the hard HCA in a heartbeat, because a disability skills coach, you have to pay almost the same as a counselor or a psychologist.
Oh my gosh.
Straight out of pocket. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So bear with me here. These programs had them in-house. PDD supported this. How I know is that I had PDD since the get-go, because they tested me for under 62 IQ. It's the only way to get PDD. Mm-hmm. Well, when Klein came in, he decided, I'm going to change this, go after health, this. Soon enough, the lack of funding that was being funneled into those programs, they had to scale back, shut their doors, or whatever else. Now, they only have a one-size-fits-all box that barely fits my left tit. Okay?
Yeah, right.
To put it mildly. So, I might have the diagnosed issues of, say, what looks like to be schizophrenia. But it's not schizophrenia, but it looks like autism. It's autism, but it has this quality, so you might fit in.
Oh my gosh.
So now you get downgraded, humiliated in order to fit in and placate the what the company that supposedly helps you is placating to. And usually it's those that need more care and more help than I will ever need in a lifetime, unless if genetics takes effect and dementia, and then I'll need someone to wipe my butt. Ain't gonna happen.
One size fits all.
Basically, that went downhill in a landslide, because I remember when the Tribunes back in the 90s came to Lethbridge, and I let Klein and his little stupid Tribune have it, and I said and belted out what everybody was thinking, but too shit scared to say, because Well, Tara has a big mouth and about as much filter as a sieve. I just let it rip because I was 23 and I was pissed. So my fight with the government here started then.
Yeah.
But I watched my mom advocate when I was a kid, even though that she thought I never paid attention. I used the same tactics my mom did towards social service and child services because they nearly took me away from my mom.
Yeah.
Just because one mommy, neurotypical mommy of a neurotypical baby, decided they saw a bruise until the social worker actually followed me around one day. I was falling off of rocks, fences, and whatever else. I have about as much grace as an elephant in a glass shop. So basically, all the bruises that you saw on my body was because I was a klutz and I was a tomboy. You mix klutz and tomboy, ADHD and autism, the balancing skills are not there. Okay. So anyway.
I mean, you just do the best you can. I mean, sometimes some people they'll just fall over this and that, or they just I mean, yeah.
Well, you make a good point. Yeah. You make a good point, Tarra, because I could pipe in a few things from my perspective too. Like I had a disabled wife, and she passed away in 2013, but she was high needs. She was in a wheelchair and she needed 24/7 care aids. She needed help in the bathroom and the whole bit. And one of the things that she had to go through all the time is usually at least twice every couple of years, sometimes once a year, she had to do these audits. And it wasn't a financial audit. It was a personal hygiene audit. Like for example, like
you wipe your ass. No.
Yeah, like how many times do you scratch your eyebrows? Like because she couldn't lift her arm, right? So she needed help with the carry to lift her arm. So she was like, how many times do you scratch your eyebrow? How many times do you have to go use the washroom? How many times do you wash your face? How many times? Like it was just like infinitum. Like every little thing was itemized, right? And it's so demeaning.
It is,
and dehumanizing, and the whole bit to have to do that, right? And and it's just
it's like when people talk down to a person with a disability. It's like or it's like Terry. It's like I don't know what it's like. That must be so hard for you. Wow, really? I don't know what's hard. That's who I am.
And like I said before too, like when we had my son, the ministry let us know that actually both ministries let us know, the Ministry of Families and the Ministry of Social Development both let us know that they said, well, because you have a disability, Neil, and your wife has a disability, you're considered high risk parents. And it's like they were just so blunt about it too, right? They're like, "Wow, you're high risk parents." I'm like, "Holy shit! You actually said that. It came out of your mouth."
Yeah, talk about gaslighting the situation.
Yeah, really, seriously.
I've actually seen studies on that social service clear across Canada, it doesn't matter where you're at, are more likely, statistically saying, to take their kids away from parents that are disabled over that of those that are neurotypical, and even less of a chance to get their children back than that of an abusive alcoholic father or parent that is neurotypical.
Yeah.
So you tell me.
Just crazy to me. Yeah.
You know what the ministry used to say to my mom? The ministry would say, well, maybe you might want to think about maybe that Brent needs to maybe find somewhere else to go. If you're finding it economically challenging looking after a person with a disability, maybe you probably should not have had Brent. Just I didn't. I adopted him when he was just a little child.
Yeah.
Like talk about a slap in the mother's face. Like,
I know.
Oh my gosh! Like I heard about that later, and Brent,
the government
oh
can say like, yeah, we don't support eugenics, but then they say stuff, they say shit like that, and it's
yeah,
like, well, your son would be better off if he was just dead,
yeah.
So I mean, how can they say, we're gonna support people with disabilities, and yet in the same breath they gaslight and say stuff and say shit like, well, maybe it'd be better if you weren't even born.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like
Another
it's
side
just
to this.
shit.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what always say to the government is, well, it's no fault of mine. I mean, I'm just who I am. I mean, I can't change myself. Would you like me to change myself to be just like you? What? What? And they're
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
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 There's one side to this that I find horrible, very horrendous, and that is the huge lack of compassion and empathy within our government systems in concerns to MAID.
Yeah,
Have
Right.
you heard
for
of the
sure.
fact that they're trying to liberate MAID to make it so that anyone with a disability, even children, can
Hmm.
go and
It's
get
just,
themselves
yeah.
killed?
Yeah.
I heard about that. Their federal government's talking about expanding it now in March of
Yeah,
next year, 2024, of saying that anyone who has a mental illness will be approved. They can apply for it rather than the government giving the people with disabilities the supports and financial security, the social safety net to take care of their citizens. But no, no, we'd rather you just, if you're suffering, we want to make it easier for you.
And
One thing,
they were thinking about adding the part where the child doesn't even need to have the approval of the parents.
right, right.
So
That's the word.
the child can go to the health authority or ministry or whatever and
Mhm.
say, I want to kill myself,
yeah.
and they have the veto power to say, to overrule the parent and say, yeah, and
Right.
that is
That
just
is
disgusting.
that's
That is
demented.
disgusting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's disgusting. It's demented. It's
Canada
just not
was over the
moral.
eugenics, but
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Canada was supposed to be over the eugenics the day they closed down the asylums. But
Supposedly, yeah,
the way I'm
exactly.
Yeah.
seeing this is that they're not calling it eugenics, they're calling it MAID. But to me, it is
Right.
eugenics in many ways and many aspects. If you can't afford to live and death is the only recourse that you have, is it not
Mhm.
eugenics?
They're just gift wrapping it. They're just gift wrapping it, putting
Yeah.
a bow on top and calling it something else. It's like a pink unicorn, right? They
Yep.
like to they just like to decorate it up and let's spruce up this little bag here and we'll call it whatever you want to call it.
Well, one of the things that, I mean, we don't necessarily have to go there, but I'm going to go there anyway. But
Sure,
one of
why
the
not?
things that people forget, they don't talk about a lot, is like with the Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust.
Yeah.
Oh
Be,
yeah, that
be,
bugs
Yeah.
the fuck out of me.
before all those Jews were exterminated, Hitler actually exterminated all the people with disabilities first.
Yeah.
Yep.
That gets overlooked. I mean,
Of course it
not to minimize the atrocity of exterminating all the Jews,
no.
but
It does get over.
the fact is it's true that Hitler actually exterminated all the people with disabilities first, or I should say at least along with, right? So it was like this kind of social cleansing, I guess, in his sick mind, it was like, let's get rid of all the defective people,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
people with disabilities, and the Jews are defective. So
I
we'll get rid
wonder
of
if
all.
they. I wonder if they would get rid of themselves then, because I mean, what if they had a disability? But no, I mean, you notice that the politicians they love to just kind of do the blame game, push it to somebody else. Oh, it's the other party's problem. No, it's their problem. It's oh my gosh, and now they want to just decorate it with something, give it a new name of we'll call it made, right? I
Well,
mean,
I mean, when they call it made, like I've said
oh,
before, like as we've said before, it's like a softball pitch, right?
yeah,
It sounds so inoffensive. It's like,
yeah,
oh, we're gonna offer you a maid. It's like it's like a softball pitch. It's like
yeah.
it's just made. It's just
Yeah.
medical assistance in
We're having
dying.
somebody coming. We're having somebody to come over to take
Yeah,
you at your residence. Yes,
but
sure. No.
let's just call it what it is. It's suicide, right?
Exactly.
It's more than suicide.
It's government sponsored
Murder.
suicide. It's murder.
It's government sanctioned murder, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
There's another side to this, and I really want you guys to pay attention, and it's a part of me.
Okay.
Because of my husband's income, I was kicked off of ADHD, which is the Alberta equivalent to whatever other provinces have. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that means all I have is my CPPD.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
This is not my first time that I was kicked off of ADHD because I chose love over whatever.
Yeah.
So my second marriage, I was kicked off because, again, income. But he was abusive. I was homeless for 6 months waiting for a divorce.
Oh.
Before moving to Edmonton. I'm in a very wonderful, loving relationship that I wouldn't trade for the world. I'm 49.
Yeah.
My family, they live a long time. His family, not so much.
Yeah.
I have more chances of being the one holding the flag. I couldn't bank my way out of a goddamn maze. In other words, finance a house or deal with bills. Because, okay, I'm dumb when it comes to that. And I'm not saying that I'm a dumb person. I'm just saying I'm dumb when it comes to trying to figure shit out like that. I'm financially inept. My husband takes care of all of that. And that's where I would need a worker. And Cassandra will attest to this, okay?
Yeah.
Now, put this into perspective. I'm married. I have a lot of support that say there's supports out there. Most of my friends have disabilities to one degree or another. Some are younger than me by a few years. Some are older than me by a few years. But essentially, all I have is my husband because most of my family are aging or very old or very sick themselves.
Right.
I'm not going to go to my brother with MS to ask him to help me how to figure out how to get said services that I might need if my husband should get sick.
Right.
I would rather have someone that is a paid worker, but I also don't want to put my husband in a home because I know the care behind that because I used to work in them 20 years ago. What was it going on back then happened that was coming out of COVID about seniors was happening. So let's just put that on the back burner. Now, I'm 49. Most of my family is old or getting older.
Yeah.
Who's going to be gone? Who's going to be that left for me to depend on in things that are most difficult for me to remain independent, but holding the flag so that I can take care and support my husband in the way if he should need it?
Yeah.
How do I navigate systems that I don't understand because it's not written in a way that I can, or tell me the A's and B's and C's without assistance?
Yeah. That's why autonomy is so huge.
It is,
and that's
terrified.
Yeah,
I am terrified because of that.
Yeah.
I lose my husband. I lose everything. I lose everything.
Yeah.
He is financial support. He's emotional support. He is everything to me. I lose that. I lose everything.
That's why it's so important that the system, it needs to be have a complete overhaul. Autonomy. People should be respected if they have a relationship. They should not. It should not be clawed off them. It should not. They shouldn't be punished for having a relationship. Somebody who they love in their life, but the government says, "Oh no, you can't have that. No, we need to."
You're allowed to have it, but you have to read the fine line.
It's extremely ableist to say. It's extremely ableist to say you don't deserve love. You don't deserve to have the support of a loved one.
Yeah, or you can have, but we're gonna claw this off you.
Sorry, you're SOL. You know, and we may support you and we may not. Like it's a total crapshoot.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. You know. But we know you don't deserve love. We know you don't deserve the support of a spouse or a loved one. You know, you're SOL with that. Sorry.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So now you guys know the reality of marriage, getting older. I've been a caregiver for 30 years. Okay. This is not my first rodeo at talking about this to people, but I'm not going to stop talking about it because
Oh yeah, never stop talking about it. No.
my accessibility ended with Klein, literally. People want me to work. They want me to be educated. Well, how do I get educated if colleges and what have you have very little in the way of supporting autistic adults over the age of 30, right? If you have visible disabilities and you're over the age of 30, they'll hand you the ramp along with anything else that you need. But if you
Oh
don't
yeah.
need a ramp, where do you go?
Yeah.
Sure, Cantuck is out there. In maybe 5 years, they might open up their doors to older generations so that they can get an education. But for now,
Yeah,
where do
it just
we
bugs
go?
me that a lot of the idea of disability for people in government and other people as well. But when you think about disability, people think of accessibility and ramps and things like that. It's like, let's build a ramp. Let's make an elevator. Let's put in accessible stalls. Let's build an accessible playground. Stuff like that. It's not about equal rights. It's not about autonomy. Nobody talks about autonomy. Nobody talks about, well, you're allowed to have the love of a spouse without us clawing back, so-called unearned income because your spouse has to be, your dependent, or the other way around. I'm getting, you know what I mean, though, right?
Yeah.
And
Totally.
it's just stupid.
It is. Any clawbacks of any kind, they don't need to exist in Canada. I don't care what the freaking clawback is. It doesn't need to exist.
Want to hear another fun one? Want to hear another fun one?
Yes.
You get CPPD.
I love
Guess what? They take dollar for dollar here in Alberta on CPPD.
What?
Or if you're Irish.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, the back pay, if you're new on CPPD,
they do the same thing here. They do the same thing here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Come on, Premier, wake up. What the hell are you doing? Clawing things off like that.
Oh, want to hear another fun one that I found out a few weeks ago? Did you know that Alberta is going through another, let's have a referendum on the CPP so that Alberta can become like Quebec and have its own, and take those that are on CPP or CPPD, because both fly under the same banner. If APP goes through, Alberta Pension Plan, guess what? People like me get ousted off of CPP.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's even worse.
That's their only income.
Oh. And according to the tribunals, it's not discrimination. The clawbacks aren't discrimination because if you equally distribute the discrimination, it no longer exists.
It's because it's equal. It's equal again because
equal discrimination means that discrimination never existed.
Yeah,
in the eyes of government, in the eyes of our human rights tribunal.
I explained that to someone just actually last night.
Yeah.
Why? One of my guests that I actually have over here, Sonia's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talk about what, like, seriously, she didn't know. She did not know.
A lot of people don't know. I mean, even myself, like 10 years ago or so, I had no idea. Because you think to yourself, like, of course the government's not going to be that perverse.
Oh yeah, they are.
But like, I was naive. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, a government's not going to be that perverse to like claw back money from a widower or a widower or like from an orphan. I remember governments aren't that sick and perverted, are they?
No,
apparently they are.
But
apparently they are.
But yeah, I remember way back when I got onto disability, my doctor said to me, like, don't worry, like they're not going to be clawing anything off, like it's a pension. I go, what? He goes, as far as I know, which he was actually wrong because I guess he thought it was still a pension, but he didn't know they had changed that. So I said, oh, and he goes, it's going to protect you in case something happens that you're no longer able to do the kind of work that you're able to do, Brent. So this is there. It's a safety net for you. Boy, was he fooled and was I fooled.
Yeah. Well, but now they even claw back, all these protected
And my
pensions.
mom was
They,
too.
they, they've been clawing them back for 30 years now. And it's like,
Oh,
you
they
know,
love clawing back.
yeah, and they don't respect the definition of a pension it's a protected income. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Like we were saying before, the definitions of things don't matter. The sky is green and the grass is blue, right?
that's
We can
right.
just pervert whatever we want and it doesn't matter.
And
Uh, you know,
but people hearing this part though, they're gonna say, "Really? No." They're gonna say, "No, Neo, no, Brent. The sky is not green."
It's
yeah,
purple.
but the government and
Yeah, we're
the government and our BC human rights tribunals say, and other human rights tribunals say that I mean, we'll just pervert it first. We'll pervert the thing first, and then after we pervert it, we'll say, well, the discrimination no longer applies now because we've already perverted it, right?
yeah.
You see how stupid that logic is. Now that we've perverted something, we can no longer properly say that it's discrimination because it's already been perverted.
Neil, there was something I read earlier today.
So
Just to
yeah,
quickly add on about the tribunal, there was something I read today. Maybe you could share that with Tara and our audience. I think I sent it over to you. If you have it handy, it was about from the tribunal. It was about clawbacks.
yeah, it was about
Oh yes,
the it
it
was
really
the
got me mad. It really got me really pissed off
here in
when I
B
saw that.
yeah, here in BC they had some people that applied for the CERB, right? That's
Mhm.
what it was, right? They
Yeah,
applied for the
yeah,
CERB,
yeah.
and the government's been trying to get that back. People with disabilities that applied for the CERB because apparently, if you had a
Arguably blood
disability,
from a stone.
yeah, because if you had a disability, you weren't supposed to apply for the CERB, and some people did, and now the government's trying to get it back, and thankfully the human rights tribunal is saying, well, maybe that's discriminatory, so
Yeah, it
they're
is.
actually they're
Hmm.
actually doing something right for a change where they're saying their antennas are going up, and saying, well, maybe that's discrimination, which is great, so I mean, I love to see that, like, because my whole thing, like I said before, is I want to see truth in government. I want to see our human rights tribunals act in truth and reality. You
Hmm.
you you can't say something is discriminatory or not discriminatory if you're just going to throw out the all important truth, right? If you're
Hmm.
gonna
Mhm.
if you're gonna throw out the all important truth, like the truth doesn't matter, then don't make a judgment on what is discriminatory and what's not, because it's pointless. It's
Yeah,
pointless at that
and with
point.
and with the with that article, it basically said there was the government admits that there was a communication breakdown. So they admit like they screwed up.
Yeah,
Again, hey, so if you're going to communicate, you need to now communicate with
yeah,
the citizens and saying this is what we're going to do, regardless if it's a good policy or bad policy. You need to communicate so that people now can say, is this going to work for me or is that going to work for me?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be on public record here. So if somebody from the BC Human Rights Tribunal sees this, I'll go on record saying congratulations, thumbs up for getting something right. And I hope this is a sign of them correcting things going forward, where, like I said, the truth of something matters now. Where,
Hmm.
where they look at the truth of something and then say, well, maybe that matters. Maybe it matters that we shouldn't pervert something first. We shouldn't pervert something first and then say, well, it's not discrimination anymore, because we've already perverted it, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we
So
can't
so
and we can't keep turning them into these.
yeah, so maybe that's a good sign of things to come. I'm hoping, I'm hopeful that
Yeah,
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 okay.
yeah.
This is government we're talking about.
Well, yeah,
The one thing I've seen over the years is that a lot of governments, though they try to listen and imagine, the fact remains is that I don't care if this is going out to left field or not. But they don't understand or realize that even though it's 16 or just over 16 in Alberta, I don't know what it is in BC. I think it's like 12 or 14 or something, some stupid thing. The fact remains is that all the rents across the board have gone skyrocketing, and how many people live under that belt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Average rent in Calgary is well over $2,000
Yeah.
for a single condo bedroom,
Yeah.
one bedroom.
See,
Yeah.
here's the scoop on that is for persons with disabilities and in many provinces across Canada, the rates are sub below poverty, sub below. I mean,
Yeah.
in like less than half the poverty line. Okay, so in less than that, and which is disgusting.
Yeah.
Now the real buying power with the not just the rent, the market rents. Okay, and then you got your cost of living. An average amount should be like at least like $4,000 or $5,000. In reality, like a person needs that much to really just have a quality of life to
Yeah.
survive in this country. Now, these rents right now, and I'm speaking for Victoria because that's where I am. I mean, if under the umbrella of the company that I rent from, right now it's like a two bedrooms, like $2,000. Now some of their other properties though, their rent they're even higher. Now I go outside of the realm, outside of the property that I rent from. You're looking at. I'm glad you're sitting down. I mean, hopefully people watching this they're sitting down. A one bedroom in Victoria, the average one. I'm looking around, and my jaw dropped. I could not believe this, and I got really furious because the amount that they give persons with disabilities. Yeah, $2,800 frickin' dollars for one bedroom.
That's
one
crazy.
Bedroom. And the place was
That's
built
crazy
in
talk.
there's one was built in 1963. You telling me that place has been paid off?
Yeah.
There's no reason why. Two bedroom over three in Vancouver, two bedroom over $4,000. One bedroom, 3,000 something. Metro Vancouver, you're going further out. My hometown, I can't even afford to move back there right now.
Yeah.
No, I mean you're looking over 2,000, Tarra. My gosh, yeah, it's like same thing as in Calgary. It's people with disabilities need to be respected and given the autonomy and the dignity to live in where they want to live in this country. No more of this no more of this bullshit of you need to have a month pass to leave the province. Can I pretty please go? And I used to tell the story all the time. Brent, you need to go? Just go. Just go. You need to go somewhere? Go. Don't need to have permission.
Yeah.
It's like you need to go to the washroom. Just freaking go. Don't tell me about your problems. Go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I tell people, same thing.
We're getting very close to the top of the hour, Brent. So I didn't know if you wanted to do final comments.
Sure. No, this has been great, Tarra. I'd love to have you come back on. I always say that to the guests. But yeah, I'd definitely love to have you come back on. I'll go over to you first, Tarra. You can have the final comments, and then we'll call it.
Okay.
My whole thing is that if we're to look at the scope of disability, then we should look at the needs and interests and age of the individual along with their abilities. Not every person at, say, 20 something is going to be, say, my age and have that ability. Yeah, I have the energy of a 16-year-old, but that's my brain because my ADHD affects my brain, not my body. Whereas vice versa, some ADHD individuals, the ADHD affects the body, for which makes them hyper, and they're the extreme jumping jelly beans on steroids. Okay, like seriously.
Yeah,
I'm not that. I'm the motor mouth. So we have to look at these dynamics, and we also should invest into those dynamics. So if a person loves to talk and they like being social, give them a job that actually allows them to use their brain, their ability, and the gift of gab. Instead of, oh, you have grade 12? Why don't you go flip McDonald's burgers for the education you got for, what, $15 an hour?
Right.
Seriously?
Really? Yeah.
Hey, the person probably has a BA and a BS. I graduated BS school, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that can also be said for, say, someone in a wheelchair. If they have their computer tech, give them a job. Yes, that is computer tech course and ability, but don't expect them to get them under a desk. Shut up, Alexa. And do what an average person is able to do, but give them the ability. Shut up, Alexa.
You gotta love AI, eh?
I'd like to AI them out the window. Anyway, I would like to see companies and our government to look at the whole dynamic, because like autism, everything comes in a spectrum. I don't care if you have epilepsy or Down syndrome. How it affects one isn't going to be the same. Downs can actually be a very invisible disability, much like autism. I've seen and had friends with Down syndrome that look like you or me, where you look at them and nope, you don't have a disability, but yet
I see.
They have that extra chromosome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this shit show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we got to look at the dynamics. If we're going to support people, we got to support them at where they're at, not what people think that a person should be. And they should stop with these, what companies that support people with disabilities do. They like to do these quarterly or annually reports of how good their clients are doing or how bad or
reviews.
What is
yeah.
If they're going to get that kind of funding, then they have to say how good this client is doing.
Yeah, these reports are you keeping up to our standards? Do you deserve a rate increase? Yeah. Really?
What do I got an automaton?
How many hoops do I got to jump through first?
Yeah.
How many times do I have to tie my shoelaces just to let you know that I can tie my shoelaces, even though I didn't start tying my shoelaces until I was 7? I have a disability. Therefore, chances are I'm going to be delayed both physically, mentally, and any other fundamental way that comes natural to having a disability.
Yes.
Can Tarra get social structures? Yeah. And they're still alien to me because my brain isn't wired to accept that kind of communication, but I like being social. How about being social at my level, my ability, within my time frame? Not what neurotypicals placate to what social normalcy should be. What about what I think it should be, because it works for me?
Yeah. I want to thank you so much on that, Tarra. Definitely, it's been an eye opener. It's been a educational, basically a road for me to hear what you're going through on what needs to be changed from the way that the government sees people with disabilities across your provinces and across British Columbia, across all of Canada. There's so many things that are screwed up, right? The government needs to wake up and actually, literally, smell the coffee. My neighbor
smell the Tim Hortons coffee.
Smell that Tim Hortons coffee, right? Yeah, none of this, these high-end coffee shops. Yeah, I mean, the reality is that live the person's life with a disability, and the people, I guess, are watching this right now and listening to us. Imagine, like, if you don't have a disability, just imagine the life of a person with a disability. Just imagine, just for one moment, as sitting in their life, for, I don't know, a month, a year, an eternity. What is that person going through? You're probably thinking, I don't know. Exactly, you don't know, right? So when the government makes these decisions, who's telling the government to make these decisions? Is it corporate interests? Is it the gatekeepers? Is it as stakeholders? I don't know.
All of the above.
All of the above. All of the above. And that's what I say. All of the above.
Yeah.
Come on to the show. Let's do a round table with people, like the ones who are telling the government, because you know what, you're really messing up people's lives, right? Their quality of life. It doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in today and watching our segment. Tarra, I'm going to have you come back on another day. We're going to get you rescheduled on, because I'd love to continue this important discussion that we're having. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. My final comments is just enjoy life for what it is now. but please focus on persons with disabilities around you. Like anyone can have a disability in their life. You will develop disabilities in their life as you get older. If you're born with a disability, you know what? That's who you are. Don't change who you are because the government says, "Oh, well, you need to bow to what we want you to do." No, you do what you need to do, what you feel you need to do in life. If it's clawbacks, stop the goddamn clawbacks. Like no clawbacks need to be in this country, right? We can do better. Give people a dignified income to live and survive in this country. I know we can do it, but the political will is not there. The political will is not there.
How many pink unicorns do I have to knock down before I get to the truth, right?
Exactly.
Can I say one thing?
You can't handle the truth.
Can I say one thing here?
Yeah, for sure.
As a person,
be right there.
As a person who watches people a lot.
Hey, 1 o'clock.
As a person who watches people a lot, is that I see that attitudes seem to follow our government. So what they exhibit, I see out there with the neurotypicals, the people that can get all the normality and the social cues. You know what? I'm watching this here in Alberta, especially. I've seen more ableism since the government changed over from NDP.
Yeah,
I actually had a break when Notley was in, even though it wasn't much. The fact remains is that the attitudes that spill out of our legislation right now is totally ridiculous. And it's spilling out into our public sectors, for which put people like me, like Cassandra, and all my friends at risk.
Right.
When it comes to wanting us to work, give us the accessibility needs that I had back in the 90s.
Right.
To be able to work so that I have protection. Instead of a bully boss, I have an educated boss. Instead of being told, oh, I need this kind of education, since I'm a visual learner, give me a certificate that I can do with my visual learning and tactile learning differences.
Yeah.
You show me anything, chances are I'll remember it because it becomes second nature. But no, I have to learn from the fucking book that basically tells me in an HCA program that all disabilities come from drugs, even though my parents were tree-hugging hippies.
I know you have to blast off there, Brent. So we have to cut this short. But thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today.